Hey guys, I'm Amazing from WoW Weekly, and today we'll be taking a look at Shadow Lord Iskar in Heroic Hellfire Citadel. These tactics also apply to the normal version. This encounter has two phases. In phase 1 you'll be dealing with Iskar and his abilities, and in phase 2 you'll be dealing with adds. In both phases the most important mechanic is the Eye of Anzu. This is an item right near the boss at the start of the encounter, and it needs to be picked up by a player. If it's not held by a player, it will start ticking fire damage to the entire raid and wipe you. When you hold the Eye of Anzu, you will get a stacking dot, meaning that you will have to rotate the eye through 3 players. After you pass on the eye to another player, the stacking dot will slowly decrease again. Luckily, the eye is of some use to you as well, because you will need it to counter multiple abilities. You normally pass the Eye of Anzu onto other players by targeting them and clicking your extra action button, but you can also download the Iskar Assist add-on. This is the list of players that you see on the right of the screen. This add-on allows you to just left-click on the player in the list and you will throw the Eye of Anzu to them, and you will do so without switching targets. Healers can also right-click on a player to use their Dispel in phase 2. In phase 1, Iskar will regularly cast Phantasmal Winds, which will put a debuff on multiple players and start pushing them off of the platform. The only way to deal with this is by throwing the Eye of Anzu to each of the players. The eye will remove the debuff, allowing you to remain on the platform. Iskar will also put the Phantasmal Wounds debuff on random players, and this is a dot that will cause you to take plenty of damage until you reach 90% of your health again. This can be healed up, but it can also be removed by throwing the Eye of Anzu to the player affected by it. It's up to your group to decide what is easier. Our healers found that the debuff was easy to heal up, and thought it was better to just use the eye for removing the Winds debuff, as they sometimes do overlap. Other than the eye mechanics, there are 2 abilities Iskar has in phase 1. The first is Fel Chakram. He will target 3 players and he will throw his Chakram at them. This will deal damage to everyone in the raid. The damage gets less the further away the target is from the rest of the raid. Each of the 3 players will get a bullseye above their head, so when you get targeted, move away from the raid and each other. When the Chakram is thrown, it will also deal damage to anyone who gets hit by it while it's flying around. The final ability he has is Fel Incineration. You might remember this from the Skyreach's final boss. This will target a random player and the laser beam will start chasing them. It will leave behind fire, so don't stand in it. To deal with this, you could choose to either use a cooldown and let the fire stack on top of each other, or kite it out of the raid to the side. The second option seems to be the better of the two, but you can also choose a hybrid. Instead of running it out as a straight line, once you're out of the raid, run circles around the fire that's spawning so that it leaves behind a patch of fire. Because of the fire causing a lot of trouble, we ended up putting 5 markers in the encounter area. 1 on the left side, 1 on the middle side, and 1 on the right side. And then a marker on each side away from the 3 markers. We start on the left hand side and the Chakram targets go to the marker that's on the left hand side but away from the rest of the group. In the video it means that we stand on the blue marker, and if you get the Chakram you form a triangle near the red marker. Once we hit phase 2 we go to the middle to deal with phase 2. Once phase 2 ends we go to the right marker and deal with phase 1 again, and obviously we will repeat this. So it'll go phase 1 on blue, phase 2 on green, phase 1 on yellow, phase 2 on green again, phase 1 on blue, etc, etc. Hearing this might sound confusing, so pay attention to our movement in the video during the transitions. To summarize phase 1, move out of the group if you're targeted by Chakrams and the Fel Incineration. Heal up or use the eye for the Wounds debuff and throw the eye for the Winds debuff. When there are no debuffs to deal with, designate 3 players to hold the eye until they reach 3 stacks of the dot. At 70, 45 and 20% health, Iskar will go into phase 2. In phase 2, Iskar will fly up into the air and start casting Focused Blast on the player holding the Eye of Anzu. This does nearly 2 million damage, but the damage is shared between every player that gets hit by it, so you'll want to stay grouped up around the person holding the eye. The beam goes in a straight line, so as long as the melee are in the same line with the ranged, they will share the damage as well. The goal of phase 2 is to kill off the adds that spawn and deal with their new abilities. These will also involve the Eye of Anzu. As you go through more phase 2s, different types of adds will spawn. In every phase 2, the Corrupted Priest of Tarok will spawn. This will cast bombs on multiple players, and after 5 seconds these will explode. To deal with this, you will want to throw the Eye of Anzu onto a healer. This healer will then be able to see an extra bomb, the Phantasmal Fel Bomb. The healer can just dispel this, which will cause all of the other bombs to disappear. In the first phase 2 you can just rotate the eye through your healers. In the second and third phase 2s, the Shadow Fel Warden will spawn. It will start channeling Fel Conduit, which will do an increasing amount of damage to your raid. This can be interrupted, but only if you have the Eye of Anzu. If your healer can interrupt, then they can combine this with doing the dispels on the Fel bombs. We found it easier, however, to have the eye on the tank interrupting the Warden, and then the tank would be able to throw the eye back to a healer when the bombs needed to be dispelled. In the last phase 2 you will have to deal with the Fel Raven. This will cast Phantasmal Corruption on the tank. This will start causing AoE fire damage to nearby players and increases their damage taken by fire by 100%. If you hold the Eye of Anzu you will be immune to this, however. So in the final phase 2 we had the tank that interrupts the Warden also tank the Raven. When he didn't need to interrupt the Warden, he tanked the Raven outside of the group so that the AoE fire damage would not kill the melee. This simplified the last phase 2 because we could continue throwing the eye between one tank and the healers. Because of having to deal with every add in the last phase 2, we used heroism in that phase. Other than that, in all phase 2s you will also still have to deal with the Field Incineration Laser Beam, which further promotes moving to the different parts of the room after every transition. After a few focused blasts you'll go back into phase 1 and your priority will still be to finish off any of the remaining adds before switching back to Iskar. If you liked this raiding guide, please comment, subscribe and click on the like button to help us out. If you would like to keep up with when new videos come out but you don't have a YouTube account, you can also follow us on Twitter or Facebook at twitter.com/bmezzy or facebook.com/wowweekly. Also be sure to check out our written content on our website wowweekly.net. For now, I'm Mezzy and I'll see you again next time. And I'll see you again.